Welcome to the University of Nottingham podcast.
Firstly, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Today. I don't know how many of these kinds of occasions you've attended.
Quite a number.
How does it compare to your skydiving? Being up there on stage in front of all those students today.
I think the thing which gives me real energy, young people, because there's a lot of hope in them, a lot of enthusiasm, and you look at their different dresses and the way when they're coming up, beaming up with life, associate yourself. This is the place to be at, because it's full of energy, full of hope, full of a future in a world which at the moment is in turmoil. So if you can come and get a lot of hope, it's fantastic. So my skydiving was one of those free-floating where you say, yeah, this is great. And the same thing is today. I just feel that this is wonderful. And, you know, our daughter Grace Sentamu was here about 11 years ago, reading law and politics. And then she ran for presidency for the union, wasn't elected, but was then elected by a huge number of people to become their officer for communications. So she was in charge of communications and loved it, loved every bit of it. And I can now understand why the university, you know, is a great university, because what I've seen today is exactly what I experienced 11 years ago when I came to her graduation. I was sitting down there with the audience and everybody and seeing her coming up to get a degree and cheering like nobody's business. And that's why today really I got them to get a bit more enthusiastic about congratulating other people, because when my daughter graduated, I just wanted to do the same thing, but you felt a bit quiet, a bit this, a bit that. So, fantastic.
Well, I think it went down very well.
So I want to ask the graduates please to stand. Or you just graduated first. Your parents, the lecturers, please stand. And for those down there, turn around and face back that way. And it's now your turn to congratulate all your graduates.
What would your wish for these graduates be going out now into the workplace?
I think in my little talk, which probably I'm going to try and send to the university, so that if they've got a means of sending it to them so that they can get a copy, was change your environment. Be the change you want to see in the world. You're all special. You've worked hard. You've got the greatest ability to change the world and your friends around you. So do not believe the story which says, oh, but you're no good, or there's a credit crunch, or you can't do this. I mean, there were so many people who graduated from nursing, and I said to myself, well, I was, you know, some 5 weeks ago down with salmonella, and I was in University College London Hospital for how long was I in there? 9 days.
So the salmonella?
Yeah, really very sick.
I understood that you were ill, I didn't know.
Very, very ill, and I was treated very well, being sick all the time by nurses and doctors. So I could actually see in front of me almost the kind of nurses, the kind of doctors that were treating me, and I could say, there's hope. This is a big number. This is a big number of people to graduating, and I think it's fantastic, really fantastic.
Yesterday, as you say, turbulent times. Yesterday you were giving out human rights awards in Yorkshire. Yeah. Today we're hearing the news that Robert Mugabe is saying that the cholera outbreak has ended. More outlandish claims. There seems to be a ramping up of tensions as well. We're hearing of MDC advisors being detained, reporters being rounded up. What are you making of the latest developments?
I mean, I really think that Mugabe lives in a world of dreams. And he's been doing this really more so in the last 15 years. He began well. People must remember 1983. There was the terrible massacre in Bulawayo. People put this as 7,000, and a mass grave recently has been discovered in Bulawayo where these people were buried. Mm-hmm. So he knows he faces the possibility of war crimes. And when everything started going down, And he has been very wise and clever in blaming it all on colonialism, the West, and everything else. But the West did not start cholera. It didn't stop the hospitals, didn't stop the water, didn't stop food and everything like that. And in fact, if Britain was not contributing to the kind of 10 million it's been contributing in order to help, Zimbabwe would be in a mess. So all of this business of colonialism and everything like that sounds quite plausible to African leaders who themselves are just not as good. Governance in Africa is not a very good place, actually. So they dare not speak out against him, with the exception, really, of Botswana and Raila Odinga in Kenya. They're the only ones that actually have come up and said, this is just ridiculous. So he would blame Brown, he would blame George Bush, he would blame everybody else except himself. And the moment he does that, I want to say to Mugabe, because when I was a little kid, Mom said, never point a finger at anybody, because when you do, 3 other fingers are pointing back at you. All the troubles in Zimbabwe are Mugabe generated. He decided to seemingly distributing land, but actually created an economic catastrophe. Just like in Uganda, Idi Amin decided to expel Ugandan Asians to Britain, and there was an economic collapse. That was not Britain, that was not neighbors, that was a direct action of Idi Amin. And some of us protested against, how can you expel citizens of a country because they happen to be Asian? Ridiculous.
It's a long time ago,
yeah.
But do you see parallels between Idi Amin and Robert Mugabe? I mean, Idi Amin's regime, you know only too well from your personal, often harrowing experience.
Yeah. I mean, there is no, and I've gone on record to say that Mugabe is the almost rediscovery of Idi Amin. I mean, he's done exactly what Amin did. And because he's very educated and speaks well, people think he's not been brutal. But you know, there was a report in Gukurahundi, which was that massacre, right at the beginning, and people should have indicted him for those murders in 1983, but they didn't, because it was a new government, we're going to do our best, and so on and so forth. You know, the thing which is also terrible, no one in Uganda under Idi Amin had to eat dangerous roots from trees. Nobody in Uganda and Idi Amin starved to death. This is happening. There was enough food. I mean, the government was atrocious. He murdered a lot of people. But actually, Ugandans, the ordinary Ugandan, managed to have his life. And the people he was after were the intelligentsia and those who were positive. But Mugabe has turned on the ordinary person and taken away their livelihood, broken their lives, broken everything else. So in fact, in many ways for me, that report in the Times last week which said that when he visited these camps, they were not very different from Auschwitz, actually. And so he's been a very, 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 very vicious ruler, really, very brutal against his own people.